What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, in Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. We have a great episode planned for you all today. We're going to look back at some of the insane NBA games we just watched, and basically, it's an NBA playoffs episode. You know what it is. There's nothing going on in the NFL. What else are we going to talk about? But before we get into that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing today?
Doing all right.
I'm good. I was at the Boyce Cowling Arboretum, east of Phoenix today, and I saw some lizards. I put a lizard on I caught it, and then I was like gonna let it go, and then it like jumped onto my shirt, and it stayed there for like 20 minutes on my back, and I couldn't get rid of it. So I just walked around with this lizard. Like, I hope it doesn't like crawl into up my sleeve or something, because it was just on my back, and I couldn't reach it because it just kept crawling around like out of reach. So I mean, I was fine with it. I'm a big reptile fan, so I was like, all right, you can chill there, dude. But yeah, it was interesting. I didn't see that many cool birds though. I had some bad luck. Every time I saw something that I thought was good, it would fly away, and I couldn't get a good look at it. That happened a bunch of times, so it was kind of brutal. It's brutal out there.
They don't want to see you win.
The haters were right. Whenever
the
I
haters
get a
and
good
doubters
picture,
won today.
Yeah, the haters and doubters won. The haters who said he'll never get a good picture of a broad-billed hummingbird, and I was set out determined to prove them wrong, and sadly, they were nothing but correct.
That breaks my heart. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I set my record on Wii Sports Resort Golf just a minute ago. Through 18 holes, 15 under is the new record.
Damn.
At the house I live at.
Okay.
We're pretty intense, and I'm came down to the last shot. So that's big time. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to hear both of you guys are doing well, because
how are you doing?
How am I doing? Well, it depends on the perspective that we're looking at.
So bad.
Because
this is a very deep answer.
Well, okay, because my album's almost done. So in that sense, I'm doing good.
I've heard this before.
Yeah, we've heard this one.
But and I also did just finish exams, but I also just took 5 exams in 2 days. So I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it right now. But no, my album is almost done. It's actually almost done.
It's 9 songs, right?
9 songs. I have 3 drop dates in mind. June 10th, June 16th, and July 15th.
July 15th is not almost done. That's 2 months from now.
Right. Okay, but you have to understand that, like, when you upload music to a distributor, it takes time to process. Yeah. So
this album is not dropping until at least July 15th.
This is some Donda type stuff right here, man. This is not coming out.
When was the original drop date for this? Because I remember it being February.
It was February 22nd.
And now it's July.
Because it was like
It was February 3rd. It was my birthday.
Yes.
Oh,
that was the original drop date.
Maybe you can drop it on 5 before the time.
Maybe you can drop it. You can drop it on your half birthday. You can drop it on your half birthday.
You know what? I thought about that.
It won't be done by then.
It won't be done by then at all.
No.
But then the second drop date was February 22nd, because that was the same day Kanye was going to drop. And I was going to try and one up.
And you were going to go toe to toe with Kanye.
Yeah, and win, of course. And then I don't think I had a planned drop date after that. I was aiming for the first week of May, but that didn't happen. So now the album should be sent to me by the end of the week, which would be like this weekend, and then I can
this is
upload to
the
Blaiden
album lore.
Blaiden album lore.
What's the album called?
Yeah, I'm
Hollow Body.
Okay.
Hollow Body.
Yeah.
It's because you're a shell of a man?
No. There's 2 meanings. A, I recorded it on a semi-hollow body guitar.
Okay.
And the second is like if you like knock on something hollow, like you can kind of hear what's inside, but you don't really know what's inside. So it's like a taste of like the inside of me.
There's nothing on the inside of something that's hollow.
But like you can hear the
You can hear the inside.
Yeah,
yes.
you can hear the inside, but you can't see the inside.
You can tap on it and you hear that there's nothing there. So is this album just going to be like, there's nothing to me?
Theo, you've thought about it a little more than I did.
I'm just. What it's a cool name. It's a cool name.
I might change the name now. No,
oh boy, it's a cool name. It sounds cool. I'm just like trying to talk. I'm just trying to get a sense of what it all means. I'm just asking you some questions. I won't ask any more questions.
Is it going to be like on Spotify?
Yeah, it'll be on everything, man.
It's going to be awesome. I'm going to put that. That's going to be a good bit to like put that on my a playlist and play it around for me to be like, you guys know this is Blaiden, by the way. I'm excited to do that.
Unless it sucks. Unless it like.
Well, it's not going to. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, it's not going to suck. I'm not worried about that. The original one might have sucked, but since my producer has taken over, it won't suck. But just a reminder to everyone, my album's coming out soon, so subscribe to the YouTube channel. Anytime something good happens, you have to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I finished finals, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You know how it is. But let's talk some basketball. Another reason I would be doing bad is my Sixers. My Sixers, my poor
your 76ers.
My poor 76ers. I'm from Philadelphia, didn't you hear? No. It's getting Embiid back helped. But
poor dude.
He's playing hurt, and at some point I think there was a quote where he was like, it's a lose-lose, either I play good, either I play injured and everyone's like, oh, he sucks, or I don't play and everyone's like, oh, he's soft. So
yeah, I mean, it stinks. He's always hurt, but yeah, it's obviously would be more fun to watch this series with Embiid. When Maxey is your best player, Harden is your best player, it's tough. And again, I think like the real star of this has been like with the Heat playing like they are as well. Jimmy Butler in the playoffs last year was kind of a misstep when he said, I feel like I'm stupidly locked in, and then he just played horrible. This year he's actually playing stupidly locked in, and the Heat are tough to beat when he is what he is on the offensive end, as he has been so far in the playoffs. That is the Heat's greatest weakness or perceived weakness, and it hasn't been a weakness at all. And that's how you get 35-point wins. So the Heat, it's a combination of multiple things that I don't really think they can control so much. It's like, maybe I guess you could clamp Butler, but he's just feeling it right now. He is stupidly locked in, and Embiid's gone, and it's just a little bit. And I love everybody on the 76ers just kind of like really making it clear, like it's not their fault. Like Doc Rivers like specifically saying like, guys, when I blew that 3-1 lead years ago, it was because we just didn't have the talent. We weren't even supposed to be up 3-1, and which is like not untrue, but it's funny that he's coming out and saying it. It's funny that Embiid is like coming out and saying like, guys, I understand that this is about to look bad for me, but I swear to God, it's not. So
everyone's just like, it's not my fault.
It's a frustrating sport, and
so they know they're about to lose. Basically, they know they're about to lose, and they're like, please don't kill me for it. It's not my fault, which is they're right about. But anyway, Matt, what were you saying?
I think that, with Embiid, it's like if he's not going to be himself, shockingly, if this team's best player is not good to go, they're not going to win the series, and it really isn't their fault. But I also think that I don't like everyone else, like all the other big players on the 76ers are good, but I don't trust them. Like Harden obviously can play good, but are you going to get a good 7 games from him in a row? Probably I don't trust it. Maxey's good, really young. You're asking a lot of Tyrese Maxey to go out and be a second option on a team with a hurt, number one option and up against the 1 seed. And then Tobias Harris has good games, but you can't really rely on him in that way. So I think without Embiid drawing all that defensive attention, you've got a lot of guys who I think are good but shaky. And when they all, kind of have stinkers against a good defense, you lose by 35 points.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. This is from Matt that's in our rundown, but do you think Hero or Maxey is better? That's, I think, an interesting question that could be divisive. I have my answer. I know what I would say.
Like, who would I rather?
Who do you think is better, Maxey or Hero? Who would you rather have in a vacuum?
Are both of those players on the quiz?
No, neither of them are on the quiz. They're not quite top 30 players to the level of the guys who are on the quiz. But
put them on the quiz.
No, they are not on the quiz. They're probably one of the first ones off the quiz.
Yeah.
If you added maybe 15 more guys.
I remember we discussed Hero. But
yeah.
I think that maybe right now, right at this second, give me Hero by a tiny little bit, just because he's maybe done it before in the playoffs. But I think if you say Maxey, you're either right now or you will eventually, that take will eventually age well, because I think, who knows what he could be next year.
My answer is Maxey. I think Maxey's the better player. Just, it doesn't really have to do much with the analysis of this series. I just think it's a fun question.
I think I'll go I really expect him to take another step, and then I'm not going to say
the next time we see Maxey, he will be better than
that
Hero.
Might be the take. I mean, they're dead even. They're a little bit.
Yeah, their stats are hilariously.
Their stats are pretty similar.
Points, assists. Hero's got an edge in boards, but it's boards for a guard. Who cares? So
unless you're Russell Westbrook,
Maxey's a little bit more athletic, and I think has the same shot making capability, if not a little bit more, and maybe even a higher ceiling on defense because of that. I don't know. I would take Maxey. I would trust him. Obviously, Hero's having a great year off the bench, but last year when they really relied on him, he kind of had a down season, and Maxey's kind of risen to the occasion. So give me Maxey over Hero, but that's just a fun little question. The Heat are Hero's still going to win the series though. So joke's on Maxey.
If Hero wins, that means he's guaranteed.
He's better. You're right. Hero is better. He's better. He beat him head to head.
Yeah. Hero beat Maxey. He didn't beat the 76ers. Hero beat Maxey.
Yes. And Butler beat Embiid. So Butler is also better than Joel Embiid.
Butler should actually win MVP, is what this means.
Yes.
Well, okay, that begs the question. Has Jimmy Butler been the best player in this series?
Oh, yeah, easily. I think so. I mean, Embiid probably would have been if he was healthy for it, but he hasn't been, And you might think I think the only competition that Jimmy has is the other players on the Heat, right? Maybe Harden, maybe Maxey, but in the situation that he's in, the best player from this series, all things considered, would probably be a Heat guy. Maybe it could have been Bam if he really feasted on this Embiid-less 76ers team, but he hasn't so much. So it's definitely Jimmy being the best player in the playoff series. And who did the Heat play in the last round? The Hawks. I mean, Jimmy looked like the best player of that series as well. He outplayed Trae Young pretty easily. Trae Young had a bad series round one. It was not talked about very much, but he really, really was struggling. So, that's a tough guy to make struggle. So Heat defense, Jimmy Butler's balling. Not much more to say about it than that. Duncan Robinson is, I guess, the other storyline, and he hasn't seen much playing time, and he's kind of been phased out of the Heat game plan, which is a little interesting. But I mean, they've been on this big winning streak since they've made that move and given him a few less minutes. So it's tough to clamor for his return to the lineup when they're having this success,
We talked about, this on the NBA Live a little bit, where it's just I think you match up defensively really well without Robinson on the floor. And if the offense is getting it done without his spacing, then the offense is getting it done without his spacing.
Right.
Talking a little bit about Bucks Celtics, because that was a very wild,
incredible game. Yes. I cannot believe Giannis hit that three. I still can't believe that happened.
I can't believe he took it, dude.
He banked it in, right? He banked it in. Yeah. That was hilarious. You know how sometimes you'll be watching a game, you'll be watching a series that a team isn't going to win, and you'll see they'll barely lose it, and you'll be like, they needed to win that one. They had to win that one to win the series. They were the underdog. They needed to pull that one off, and they just couldn't get it done. I think about that all the time. The Bucks, that was this game for the Bucks, and they did win it. They did pull it off.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, and you're watching that game and you're like, dude, the Celtics are going to win this one. I know it's a 10-point game, but the Celtics will win. I know it's close right now, but they'll turn it on. No question, no doubt. The Bucks are treading water right now, and then
they're giving all they can. Yeah, no. And again, like we said in the last episode, you just got to be sick if you're this series has been right there for them the whole time. And the Bucks have done enough. They've held on through late Celtics comebacks. Like I believe in game, 2 or 3, they were up big, and then the Celtics came back, and I believe, did the Celtics end up winning that? I can't remember. No, they did end up winning that, didn't they? But I mean, the whole time the Celtics have been it's been right there for them, and they just have not been able to take advantage, and the Bucks have been able to get by the skin of their teeth, despite the bad shooting nights from Holiday, despite the big games from Horford, despite
missing Chris Middleton.
Despite missing Chris Middleton,
can I get your guys' take? I tweeted out, if they had Middleton, I think the Bucks would sweep.
I don't know if they'd sweep, but with how the problem for the Celtics is the offensive problems that they had are flaring up again.
Yeah.
Where it's that, it's a little bit, I feel like their ball movement isn't maybe what it needs to be all the time. Or I just feel like they don't have the one guy who draws defensive attention their offense is just not quite doing what it needs to do, I guess, whether their ISO stuff isn't working or they're not shooting quite well enough, or Grant Williams is out there. I don't think he scored when he played. I think that's what's killing him. And the Bucks defense, I thought that they coasted against the Nets sort of a little bit, the Celtics. And it's okay, it's not a very hard defense, not very physical, not a lot of good defenders. And all of a sudden you get punched in the mouth by the Bucks, who are a very physical defense. Even with Middleton out there, they're going to play you very, very tough. And it's you feel like sometimes the Celtics aren't as aggressive as they need to be. And it's at times they figured it out. Last game 4, that Tatum turned it on and it was over. And it's okay, yep, he's just and Smart started going at some stuff. And it's yep, they're not going to be, if they just do that, they're fine. And they can't quite get to where they need to be doing it consistently.
Yeah, they're at 41 assists per game so far in the series. I'm trying to find what they were at in the regular season and am struggling, but the Bucks are at 48, so they're definitely moving the ball a lot less than the Bucks, even though the Bucks, you would think, maybe wouldn't be doing that because they have a dominant, one dominant guy, where the Celtics kind of... And even they're substantially far behind in terms of rebounds. So,
how many assisted Giannis have?
I am not sure.
Is he averaging in this series? Or are you able to see?
I'm sure that I am. But yeah, it is. And it was the problem.
I assume it's low, right?
It's 7, which is pretty good. Yeah, but
that is pretty good.
It is pretty good. It is. Yeah, it's the old issues coming back to haunt them, right? It is the ball movement. And it's why we said in an episode earlier where it's man, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown good enough to carry? Is that duo going to be good enough? And it looked like yes for a long time. And this playoff series, it's maybe not again. But you don't want to overreact to it. You do want to be okay, we saw what they were capable of towards the end of the series and in the Nets series. It's man, they just gotta turn it on, and they gotta move the ball better, and they gotta get back to where they were. And Marcus Smart, I think this has not been a great series for what Marcus Smart's reputation is. He won DPOY, and it's Drew Holiday is just as good on defense as he is. All right. And we're seeing that. And we saw it in the last game.
He won DPOY on trust us, guys. He's defensive player of the year. The Celtics are letting you know that that's the reason why they have the number 1 defense. But he is not proving that to be the case right now. And the Celtics defense is playing very good still, but you would think that the defensive player of the year would not
be a dominant
defensive player. Hey, a guard is just not the best defensive player in the league.
He's not. Giannis is a better
guards
defender.
Just aren't. That's just not the way that it is.
It's like a tackle in football winning offensive player of the year. It's just not it's not the most important offensive player, or a nose tackle winning MVP. It just is not in the spirit. They might be the best player. They might be really good.
Not even nose tackle.
They might be really valuable.
In general, a defensive player winning MVP.
Right. They might be really good, but they're not the best. They're not the most valuable. Yeah. And defensive player of the year is the same way. It's like if you think on the defensive end, you have to worry more about Marcus Smart or Giannis. The answer is Giannis. All right. And there's even a couple guards where it's like Drew Holiday might be that guy. It's just because the Celtics had a really good defense and he's the captain of the defense. He's lead by example guy on the defense. He's the effort guy on the defense that really sticks out. Great defender, not the defensive player of the year. And,
okay. Well, that might beg the question of how does the NBA view defensive player of the year, right? Do they view it as the best defender, or do they view it as the best, I don't even know how to describe it.
Well, they view it as the most valuable defender. The problem is that it keeps the most valuable defender in the league keeps being Rudy Gobert every year. It's the Jazz have built this defense that relies solely on him and nobody else, and no one else will guard on the perimeter or anything. And if it wasn't for Gobert, they'd have the worst defense in the league. The on-off numbers are crazy. So he is the most valuable defender.
Right.
But nobody wants to give him the award 8 times. So they're just not going to do that. Eventually they just get sick of it. I think it's...
Yeah, and remember what we were talking about to Richard Jefferson. He was MVP is a player award, but it's also a team award, where if a player wins MVP, they'll buy stuff for their teammates or give stuff to their teammates that also signifies you helped me do this. And I don't know if the MVP dialogue is still that as much as it was, because guys like Jokic have won when the team around, we're seeing maybe that start to shift a little bit. But I think on the defensive player of the year type of side, I think that mentality is still alive, where it's it's kind of a team award, where it's we cannot give it to Giannis because the Bucks have the 15th best defense in basketball, and the Celtics have the best defense in basketball. And if you're the captain of the defense on the best team in basketball, you've got a better case for defensive player of the year because you are leading the best defense. And it's a little bit of a team award as well. And you're the captain, or I don't know if Marcus Smart is technically has a label or a title captain, but that's what they've been doing. They've been giving the defensive player of the year to the captain, quote unquote, of the best defense in the NBA. Yeah. So that comes into it as well, where I think it is a little bit of a, like Richardson said about, what am I talking about? Yes, it's a little bit of a team award as well.
That's probably okay. I think we talked about there should be, somewhat of an offensive player of the year in the NBA. This is why there won't be, because the MVP is just offensive MVP, and then defensive player of the year is just defensive MVP. It's they're I don't know. I mean, the way it is right now, at least, it just seems like it's just offensive MVP and defensive MVP.
Yeah, it is a little bit weird that there's a defensive player of the year and not an offensive player of the year in the NBA, and MVP is the healthiest mix of both. That makes sense to me. But the fact that there is no offensive player of the year makes it so MVP is really, really an offensive type of award. But it's again, at the same time, how many years would the best, if there was an offensive player of the year, how many years would that guy be MVP? It would probably be a lot of the years, I would say, because offense is just kind of inherently, being an elite offensive player by yourself is a lot more valuable than being an elite defensive player by yourself, is what it seems like to me. And not to say defenders aren't valuable, but they're not. But
I don't know. They usually just give the offensive player of the year the MVP.
Right. Yeah. So on defense, it kind
of works like that in the NFL, where it's the offensive, since the MVP is always a quarterback, they'll make offensive player of the year quarterback a lot.
They did that in the past. They've done that in the past, where I don't think offensive player of the year should ever be a quarterback. It should be best non-quarterback.
I agree. It's against the spirit of the award.
Right. And they've done it before. I know Mahomes won it a couple years ago. I think Breeze has won it multiple times. Breeze has no MVPs, but he has multiple offensive players of the years. which no one takes into his legacy.
They're just messing around.
No one has
I'm gonna
ever
look
like
that up.
talked about Drew Brees' legacy and mentioned his offensive player of the year.
That's crazy. I've never thought about that. That's so true.
Yeah,
That's like a major award.
It's a major award, but it's like, oh, you didn't win MVP. Like Rodgers in 2011 won.
2 times he's won AP Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, no one gives him any credit for that shit. No one ever gives Drew Brees credit for winning Offensive Player of the Year, but Cup won Offensive Player of the Year. They'll be talking about that Cup obviously they should be talking
for
about
the rest of time.
They'll be talking about Michael Thomas as Offensive Player of the Year. Drew Brees, that's a second place. Like that's an important ass award that Drew Brees won. So I feel like it would kind of be the same thing in the NBA where it's like the MVP would win MVP in the Offensive Player of the 100%. Year. It would just be like a little footnote, like no one would care.
Well, speaking of this, you guys saw the new trophy thing that the NBA is doing.
The conference finals
MVPs.
Okay, I did not see that, but I think it gets away from the issue where I don't hate it, but what they should do at the end of the finals is just do playoff MVP instead of finals MVP. Like that way Iguodala doesn't win because like when he won finals MVP, that was weird. That was weird. But he's the
LeBron stopper, man.
He's the LeBron stopper. But like if you want to make the argument that was a series where he played better than Curry, everybody like Curry over the course of the playoffs was probably the better player than Iguodala overall. So it's like, why not take all the series into account? Because if you lose one series, you can't win the finals. So winning finals MVP inherently like what you did before the finals inherently matters. This is like almost getting to that, but it's not quite. It's just like expand the finals MVP to just be a playoffs MVP. And I think the award means much more because it's not just like a one series sample size, even though it's the most important series. It'll always go to like you were the best player on the best team. Whereas sometimes when it finals MVP, it can just be like, if the Suns go in, like Mikal Bridges could win it if he does a good job on like someone or something like that. Where it's like Andre Iguodala could win it if it's like one-off series from Curry. Like, to me, it's like, don't make all the awards separate. We don't need a first round MVP, a second round MVP, a semis, conference finals MVP. Just make it a playoffs MVP. And then anyway.
I really think that it would be cool until they would never, ever, ever give it to anybody other than the team that won the finals. Like they're not giving the playoff MVP to someone who lost in the second round.
No, they're not.
Well, yeah. Why would you? Right.
Well, because then you would just start up with this huge debate. It's like if you were going to go back to like 2015, maybe like LeBron is the most valuable player in the playoffs that year.
They might give it to him. They might give it to him.
You might.
I don't know.
Okay,
I think that
we've seen. Okay, when it's happened once, right, where a team that lost the finals had the finals MVP.
Jerry West. It's in winning time.
They will never do it again.
They might not. Or how about this? Instead of a conference finals MVP, you just do another first team all playoffs, and
that'd be cool. That. I don't mind the conference.
I don't mind it either.
MVPs.
I just think that there's options that make a little bit more sense in my head.
Yeah. You know what makes the most sense though?
Money. Most sense. Is this going to be a money transition? Like you can make a lot of sense. Maybe even dollars.
That was a better transition than I was going to do. I was just going to say PrizePicks makes a lot of sense because they make daily fantasy easy. I don't know.
Mine is better.
It is better. Yours is much better, right? Maybe you should do the ad read. I don't know. But PrizePicks offers more NBA props than any other DFS operator and offers every player and stat category you can think of. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. I'm realizing now I forgot to check to see if someone sent me a new MLB player to read. So, Theo, this one's on you again. Give me one.
Tatis. Fernando Tatis Jr.
Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah, he was on the cover of the show in 21.
All right, bet.
MLB The Show.
PrizePicks offers more. PrizePicks allows for mixed sport entry. So, for example, you can take the over on, was it Fernando Tatis?
Tatis.
Tatis.
Yes,
Fernando Tatis.
Yes.
Fernando Tatis. Or you can combine it with the under on Ja Morant in the same entry. Look at that. I'm learning new baseball players. This is how Stay Hot's going to introduce me to baseball.
Call Tatis an error merchant or something. What's his name?
Error merchant.
Yeah, he has a lot of errors, so Tatis haters will make fun of him for it. But it's like making fun of like Deontay Johnson for drops and that he's very good. It's just like some stupid mistakes make him bad. Anyway, there's some baseball lore.
Take the over on Tatis. You have my word that it's guaranteed to hit. But make sure you use make sure that you go on over to PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code STAYHOT. You can get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Again,
I believe Tatis is hurt right now. I believe he broke his wrist.
Theo!
What? You said just a baseball player. I don't know.
Come on, man. Head on over to PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code STAYHOT. Get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100, or go to your app store and download the app today. PrizePicks, where they make daily fantasy easy. I'm just trying to, give people good advice when it comes.
I'm sorry. He's the first baseball player who came to mind. Say Yelich. Okay, there's another from the Brewers.
Yelich?
They're the best team in baseball right now.
Is that a first or a last name?
No, he looks like me. He's a guy who looks like me, and his name is Christian Yelich, and he's a baseball player. And people thought he was washed these last 2 years.
I'll write that down for next time.
He literally just looks like me. He looks like me with like a longer face and more athletic.
You can pick the over on Theo Ash or De'Aaron Fox. No, but
yeah.
Let's talk about Western Conference. You want to hit on your Phoenix Suns, Theo?
Yeah, let's hit on the Suns after they beat the brakes off the Mavericks finally. It's been tough sledding a little bit for the Suns in the playoffs so far, or a little bit tougher than you'd like to see. As with the Pelicans, it was 2-2, and you're like, man, if you go down 3-2, like it was like, we really need to win this next game. Same with the Mavericks. Oh man, it's 2-2. We really need to win this next game. So it's been a little bit tougher than maybe I anticipated in both series for the Phoenix Suns. But it's also been tough sledding for every team in the Western Conference that remains so far, with Ja Morant out for a long time and the Warriors getting blown out by a Ja Morant-less team. So it's like none of these teams in the Western Conference are really cruising to where I'm like concerned about the Suns. But the Mavs just don't have enough firepower, sadly. Like, we've been talking about it. Luka is Luka. Luka's going to do Luka things, but Dinwiddie, for the amount he's getting paid, is not a second star. Brunson, for the amount that he could get paid, is not really a second star to the extent that Booker and Chris Paul are, or Clay and Poole and Draymond and Curry are, or even like Ja. I guess Ja doesn't really have a second star, but the depth there is obviously crazy. So the Mavs just don't have the firepower, and when they've been having some games where they've been shooting ridiculous numbers. I mean, they have gotten out to some against the Jazz where they hit tons and tons of threes, like over a dozen threes. And obviously when you do that, it doesn't matter who else you have on the team. You're probably going to win the games, but it's a tough. Jason Kidd said this at the beginning of the year. He's like, I don't really believe in being a 3-point shooting team because any game it could leave you. We want to build our base in the interior, in the mid-range, and then 3. We want to like start out and build our offense out. And I actually thought that was an interesting point, because it's like with the Warriors, a lot of teams have been like, oh, let's shoot the 3. Threes are worth more than 2, or at least that's what the perception is. Like the best shooting teams are the ones that win. Kidd was like, the 3 ball is the most inconsistent one, and you'd rather be solid in the 2. And it's like, it doesn't quite seem like the Mavericks are quite consistent enough at all levels of scoring. They don't have someone who's just dominant at getting at mid-range, except for Luka, right?
I know like the analytics perspective of it is like you're better off taking a 3 than like a long 2, like a deep mid-range, because it's like both shots are pretty equally tough to make. And like if you miss the 3, it's like, okay, well at least you shot for 3 points.
Yeah, obviously the deep two is what it is, but like at the same time, the mid-range demons are the ones who typically perform very well in the playoffs. These last couple of years, we've seen Chris Paul and Devin Booker and Middleton and a lot of these guys, and even now, like Luka is a big mid-range guy, Jimmy Butler is a big mid-range guy, and BE can shoot from the mid. Like the mid-range is not as dead as some people made it sound like it was, but. At any rate,
just because the Warriors went to like 5 straight finals or whatever.
Right. Obviously, the Warriors were kind of a special case when they had arguably the 3 greatest shooters in the history of basketball on their team at the same time. It's like, yeah, maybe you don't take a deep 2, but for most teams, I think the 3 ball is a perfectly fine thing to live with. Dallas, I'm looking at their 3-point percentage now. I mean, it wasn't crazy during the regular season. It was about middle of the pack. So I don't know. It just seems like they've been very reliant on like Maxi Kleber hitting a bunch of uncontested threes so far in these playoffs, and it's not always going to be there that way.
Right. I don't know. I mean, like it's the value of the 3 is like the spacing too. I think the Mavericks have good spacing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they want to lean on just like taking a ton of 3s, and they're building their offensive game plan more around getting stuff inside, which is, I mean, if we want to talk analytics does not hate, inside shots. It does not. It loves it. That's still the most valuable shot in the league. So I think that's more of what he was saying rather than like 3s are actually bad.
No, of course not. But you don't want to. Yeah. They can leave. I think what he said is they can leave you at any time.
Right.
There's always going to be Whereas in the paint, it's not going to like.
Which is funny to talk about this right now because the Warriors got blown up by 40 points.
Right.
Last night. And you can win either way, but I think I see where he's coming from. I think it makes sense. And the Mavericks are not, like a team with terrible spacing or anything. So.
No, they're not. They're not. They just don't have the firepower is what it comes down to. And the Suns, even with Campaign, like last year in the playoffs, he was a spark off the bench, and he was really important to that finals run. He was a really pleasant surprise after they found him from China, This year, he's been terrible. All right. And he even got benched in the last game. So the Suns bench has not quite been as strong as it was during the playoff run last year. Chris Paul has not had a good series against the Mavericks at all. His last 3 games have been very underwhelming. And they're still up 3-2. So there's definitely adjustments to make. Monty Williams, who just won Coach of the Year, put a lot of faith in Campaign because he has not been good for months, right? And it's been faith in him, and more faith in him than maybe even I would have put into it, because it kind of like was a miracle that he was as good as he was. And when he turns back into the pumpkin, that could kind of be the real Campaign. And now we're seeing lineups with like Point Booker and Shamet out there, which is, I think, maybe. And then now that we were seeing that, they just had the blowout. Maybe we see that more of that the rest of the playoffs, and it's a little bit of a better answer. So there are definitely like some adjustments that I think they're a little bit late in making, but they're making them, and I hope that coincides with better success. But my overall point is like the Mavericks don't have the firepower, and the Suns are starting to make adjustments, and I think we saw that in the last game.
Yeah,
that's my take on the series.
I think Dallas was trying. I mean, and that's kind of what you do when you're the underdog. You try and catch, your opponent on a little bit of a slump. But, when you're as good as the Suns are, eventually you figure it out. Campaign turned me into a fan last year.
He's a cool dude. I'm rooting for him to get back into it. It's just been a while since we've seen it.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been able to say I pray that all your pain is Campaign without like wishing on someone's downfall.
We've been talking like these series are over, and they're not.
No, they're not over. They're not over.
They're over.
I think the Celtics especially can still beat the Bucks. I really do. I think if they just turn it on and play their game. I think with this, I mean, I do think it's just like someone give Luka some help for the Mavs a little bit. Like, I don't think it's the same stuff we said last time. I don't think the role players are who they are. I think the Devin Booker, Luka. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, what tier would you put Brunson in? Would you give him the max?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
You'd let him walk?
It's a tough one. It's like, is he going to get significantly better?
Right. How old is he?
This tier of player gets the max. Brunson's get the max every once in a while. Michael Porter Jr., totally different players, but like you sort of see it, or like Miles Bridges might get one, or stuff like that. But the difference is that you can't give a player who's not an all-star the max, who you don't feel very confident, like you don't feel like they should get better. Like it would be a surprise.
He's going to be 26 by the time.
He's going to be 26 and he's a shorter guard, and he's only improved. So maybe that's like me being a hater, and maybe he does. I think there's still some room for him to grow. But it's like, man, is he a second option?
Yeah, probably not.
It's a tough position because really the Mavs don't have a lot of good options going into this offseason. They're a very tough spot. I thought the Porzingis trade was, I think looking back on it, it's pretty good. It's okay. Like you've got a little bit more flexibility. There's more you can do. But I for them, I'd be looking big in the sign and trade market because I think like a Levine would push the needle. I think a Beal would push the needle. I think a Gobert would push the needle. I mean, if you had Brunson on a max contract, where would he rank among players who have maxes?
Near the bottom. Like, his tier is like everyone on the Grizzlies who's not Ja Morant.
He is a very above average starter.
Yes.
And I don't know, dude. You can if with as a third option I can get it, but even if you're trying to build a championship team, I don't know if locking yourself into a long Brunson contract is the way to go. But it stinks because I wish he had been like, you could have known this sooner. Maybe you'd get something for him. It doesn't, like if the Pistons go sign him, you're not going to get anything,
right?
And it's going to be tough. Well, maybe he's a restricted free agent.
He's below the hero and maxi tier, where it's like those are the guys who you give max contracts to, even though they're not super duper mega stars, and you feel still good about it. Brunson is like a tier below that, where it's like maybe.
And I think a lot of people, it's like. And that's
16
a lot of people,
points a game is at 6'1" and age 20. 16 points a game, 6'1", age 25. We'll see. Yeah.
Without like being like a crazy good playmaker.
Yeah,
man, this is like I've seen Devontae Graham have a stat line like this. Of course, he's better than Devontae Graham ever was. To be clear, not the same player at all. But
don't slander Devontae Graham.
And it's tough because he's played good in the playoffs. I don't know. It sucks.
He's been efficient all year. He's been a very efficient player. He's played efficient. Well in the player.
Very good. You like to have him, but like, dude, a max. I don't. There's a lot of like. The Hornets got a lot of slander for like Terry Rozier's contract, and Rozier didn't get maxed, and it's like where Brunson ranks among just guards overall. It'd be interesting to actually sit down and do it because I think I don't know how high he would be. Yeah, I like Brunson, but the max is tough for me. I'd probably let Detroit do that before I do it myself. But I don't know where you go for it. I'd have to a lot of it depends on the Mavs' options, and I'd have to sit down and look at what their other choices were before you can really say whether or not you'd do it.
Right. We've talked about it a million times, but I think their best bet is like somehow get a really good big.
Pull off some sort of sign and trade.
Get a good big, because Luka feeding him in the post and actually having some post defense, which I think they're pretty weak at right now. So that's where I think they go from here is maybe you let Brunson walk. You've got $1 billion that you didn't pay Brunson. Go get a big. Luka's like a backcourt. Whatever your backcourt is, if it has Luka, it's going to be fine. Get some big guys and let them feed them in the post, because right now they're not at all dominant on that area. Finney Smith is good though. Shout out Finney Smith. He's not really a big, but he's just stretch.
You should be feeding in the post.
Is this going to be a HelloFresh transition?
I'm trying my best, man.
That's pretty good.
It's like
I think that was like a great one.
You got the bone.
You said you're trying. You're doing it, man.
There we go.
Warms my heart. Like made my day, man. You know, you guys already know our favorite sponsor, along with PrizePicks, along with
it's tied for first.
It's tied. It's a 4-way tie for first. HelloFresh. And with HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit and Stay Hot's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than dining at a restaurant and is even cheaper than grocery shopping, according to a Zagat dining survey. That's money back in your pocket. Who doesn't want money back in your pocket? Theo, do you like money back in your pocket?
Yes.
Matt, how do you feel about money back in your pocket? Scale of 1 to 10.
I feel pretty good about money back in my pocket, Blaiden. I think you know me.
I do know.
Big spender.
Big spender Matt. Big spender Matt Spawn Hour. HelloFresh has fit and wholesome recipes for satisfying and HelloFresh, forgive me, I messed up your ad read. HelloFresh has fit and wholesome recipes for satisfying and nutritious meals that you can feel good about. With 6 recipes per week to choose from, including low-calorie and carb-conscious options. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code STAYHOT16, the number 16, don't spell it out, for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/StayHot16. Use the code STAYHOT16 to get HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. All right, we have one more game I think we need to talk about.
The Grizzlies beating the fucking brakes off the Warriors without Ja Morant.
That's an understatement.
Hey,
you know? They won by what, 40?
Yeah, the Grizzlies are better without Ja Morant. I'm gonna say it. I've seen enough. They're better without him. He's holding the team back. What more? What needs to happen? They're gonna win this series. That's my take. The Grizzlies are gonna win this series because they are an unstoppable force without Ja Morant. I don't know what it is. They are just the finely tuned machine made of like nuts and bolts and oil, and there's no that's the pieces. They just like a simple machine built in like the 1970s before plexiglass and spray paint was invented. They just like keep chugging along. It's like a ship that was built in the 60s that can still float and run and do all those things. It's like that's what they are. They're the perfect team. They could beat the Bulls with Michael Jordan in their prime. They could beat the Bulls in the early 1990s or whatever. Yeah, like they're just perfect. I don't know why they just are. I've seen enough.
Spray paint was invented before the 1970s, Theo.
I don't know. Whatever. I don't know whenever like Benjamin Franklin invented the kite with the key is like. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say? Like the first like simple machine. It's like pulleys and levers and wheels. And it's like you have all the things that are needed. And they're perfect and they'll never break. And it's
the Memphis Grizzlies without Ja Morant.
It's just practical. They did. This is like a wheel. This is what it is. This is like basketball at its core. There's no dancing. There's no grittying. It's just some role players playing basketball, and it's unstoppable. I don't know. They're winning this series. They just know ball. I don't know why. They just are. They're winning this series, and they're going to give the Suns everything they can handle in the Western Conference Finals. The Ja Morant.
This is sickening. It's sickening. So when the Warriors are up 3-1, it's like, see, the Warriors, they're not struggling. This is how I know they're going to beat the Suns. But then the Grizzlies get 2 wins, which is probably how, like, if the Suns close it out in 6,
it's not just just a win. They're like 20-4 without Ja Morant, and they just beat the Warriors by like 50 goddamn points. When they beat the Thunder by 70, did they have Ja Morant in that game? I do not think they did. That's the biggest blowout in the history of basketball. I'm dead serious. The Ja Morantless Grizzlies are the best team in the history of the
So you have them winning
sport.
The finals now?
Yes, yeah. If Ja can't come back, they're the most dangerous team in basketball. All the evidence is right in front of you. If you want to play blind man, go walk with the shepherd. But me, my eyes are wide fucking open. My eyes are wide open.
I don't think it's impossible to think that like maybe there's some world where the Grizzlies are just like their offense just works well without Morant, and it's like no big deal if they can figure it out, even though he's like a great player. But I don't buy into them winning.
This is real life Ewing theory. The Ewing theory that Bill Simmons came up with is complete bullshit, except for this example. All right.
What's the Ewing theory?
It means your
teams
team
are
is
better when their best player gets hurt.
Yes.
If you only look at examples where teams somehow win without.
Don't actually look at the actual Patrick Ewing theory. Like, don't actually look at Patrick Ewing for this theory, because since he left, the Knicks have been garbage. But I don't know why. Yeah, I like the wounded tiger theory better, where it's just the Ewing theory
why interim head coaches always win their first game.
Right. The wounded tiger theory is teams perform well despite their best player out. The Ewing theory is teams perform better because their best theory is. I don't buy the Ewing theory, but it's happening here. I do buy it for the Grizzlies, because clearly, I mean, look at it. They're unstoppable. They win all the time without him. They won by the most points in the history of basketball without him. And this is like probably one of the biggest playoff losses the Splash Brothers have ever received, right? Like, LeBron couldn't do him like this. I don't know who else was in the West.
That's because this Grizzlies team is better than LeBron has ever been.
Yeah, LeBron wishes LeBozo, his team chemistry, he'll never get team chemistry like this because he keeps trading away all the role players so he can play with his banana boat friends. His LeBron teams don't know how to play basketball like these Grizzlies are playing. All right, LeBron, that team cancer, will never be able to play basketball like these Grizzlies are playing.
Mickey,
Le GM. If LeBron was at the Grizzlies, Desmond Bane would get the Leviction notice, and Jaren Jackson would get traded for Russell Westbrook. Okay.
So the question we need to be having is, where are we trading Ja Morant this offseason?
Where are we trading? Well, he's going to be a Sun, and he's going to win Sixth Man of the Year coming off the bench for Chris Paul. And then when Chris Paul retires, he can get transitioned to do a starting role again. He's a Valley boy.
He's got to earn his keep.
Matt, do you have any counter to my stunning display of logic that the Grizzlies are winning this series and the Warriors are dead in the water?
I think the Warriors probably close it out next game. Where is it at? Is it in Memphis? Maybe not. I'd like to see it. I'll be interested to see how that goes. He has no rebuttal. Yeah.
Get hype on the Jawless Grizzlies bandwagon.
I do believe that the Jawless Grizzlies are very, very, very good. They're a very, very good team. And it's surprising because, they don't have their best player, but I can buy into that. I don't know if I can buy into Ja Morant being awful and a Sun, and actually the Grizzlies will never lose again. The Suns, they're going to fold because they don't. The Grizzlies are such a lock to win every year now.
The Suns need Ja to get past the Grizzlies without Ja. It's the only way. They need to
replace
Cam Payne.
This is a hell of a storyline you're coming up with here,
the
man.
Grizzlies.
It's the real. Look at what's happened.
It's the real.
Look at the results. I'm just telling the story. The results show. I'm just telling you what's happened. You're the one with this fantastic vision that, the Grizzlies being no Ja Morant actually makes the Grizzlies, or Ja Morant makes the Grizzlies better. That's the fairy tale. That's the fairy tale based on what's happened. You're the one spinning fantastic stories.
Me when the Grizzlies get one win with Ja Morant, not impressed. Me when the Grizzlies get one win without Ja Morant.
I'm telling you.
But they won by so many points. It's right in front of your eyes.
It's right in front of you. What does the Warriors winning this series look like? How can they defeat this super team?
They can't.
They
get Ja back out there, man. I don't know.
They need to fix Ja. The Warriors doctors need to go and fix Ja and get him back in the game.
Steph Curry is going to personally go to Ja Morant's house and nurse him back to health.
Yes, Dr. Curry. They're 26 the Memphis Grizzlies are 26-14 without Ja Morant all time, says StatMuse. I'm pretty sure the Memphis Grizzlies have played more games than that without Ja Morant in their existence, but whatever. They're getting back to their grit and grind era. Okay, the Grizzlies, Ja Morant is too Hollywood for Memphis. It's not meant to be played there. His brand of basketball is not meant to be played in Memphis. He's meant to go play in LA like the rest of like Odell. Okay. They are meant to play Zebo style grit and grind basketball. And when Ja's out, it actually allows them to do that and win some games. But when he's like trying to dunk on people all the time, it's just not Grizzlies basketball, sadly.
Poor Steve Kerr. That's all I can think, man. He's got to just be
sick,
crushed.
Poor Kings who have just offered a contract to this Warriors coach and watching him just get like,
they've looked awesome in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
But gotta break your heart a little bit. But Warriors in 6, I guess.
No, Grizzlies in 6. Grizzlies in 7. Right? Is that what it would have to be?
Yeah, it would have to be in 7.
Week 1 of the NFL schedule. I'm looking at it right now. The season opener is Buffalo versus the Rams, by the way.
Woo!
That's going to do numbers. That's going to do some crazy numbers.
Buffalo winning.
Okay.
Winning by 15.
All right.
You mean by 50?
What makes you say that?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to pick Buffalo to win the Super Bowl. Spoiler alert, and I'm going to do it again.
I could say
I'm going to do it the next year probably too. I'm going to keep doing it until I'm right. And then I'm going to be like, I knew all along. So that's
POV me when I predicted the Browns to win the Super Bowl for the past decade, and they still haven't.
Cleveland versus Carolina, week 1.
Yo, where is it?
It's in Carolina.
It's in Carolina.
Yo, Blue Wire.
When do they play?
Wire,
when do the Panthers play Cincinnati?
I don't know. I do not have the whole thing in front of me. I don't think we'll know the full schedule the next time we record a podcast.
Do you play the whole AFC North?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Blue Wire, fly Matt and I to the Panthers-Browns game in Carolina.
I don't know if the Panthers are worth the trip right now.
Yeah, we're getting Tampa Bay and Dallas once again on Sunday Night Football to open the season again. Tampa Bay versus Dallas.
That's cool.
For
it's
Sunday
a good
night.
Game. It's a good game.
And then Denver versus Seattle. Denver at Seattle. Russ starting in Seattle week 1.
First game.
Seattle's winning that game. Russ is going to be scared. All right. Russ doesn't have that dog in him, sadly. He's again, like Ja Morant, too Hollywood after dating Ciara. That's why he didn't win a ring. He's got to go back to his roots. Drew Lock, that's a man of the people right there. All right. Seattle can keep the ball on the ground now and win a game finally without Russ's antics. Okay.
I would just like to remind everyone that Theo is very Drew Lock pilled. This dude.
I am okay.
This dude has been riding the Drew Lock train for about 10 years now.
I'm like, okay, I'm not riding a Drew Lock chain. I'm like, those guys who like pump the like solo carts behind the Drew Lock train. I still think I don't even think there is a Drew Lock train at this point, but I'm like hesitantly behind it. Like,
if there is a Drew Lock train, you're the conductor. Like,
if he plays well, I'll be like, I knew that he had something to him. If he plays bad, it's like, guys, I never actually thought he'd be like a starter, but it is what it is. Well, do we have much more to say?
No. End the podcast. No. We're done. I think that pretty much wraps things up for us. Tons of content coming away on all platforms. We're gonna start doing some weekly questions. So make sure, like, answering questions from you guys on a weekly basis. So make sure you either DM us on Twitter, DM us on Instagram, shoot us an email, stayhotpod@gmail.com. And we're going to probably do about 3 to 5 questions a week. I think we're going to do them every Thursday. Just hop, like, right around here at the end of the episode. Just be like, oh, Blaiden, when's your album dropping? I don't know. But, yeah, make sure you DM us or email us, and we'll get some of those out to you guys ASAP.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be just sports either. Ask us what we thought of the Kendrick album. No, like, literally
it can be anything.
Ask us what we thought about Kendrick. Yeah, that's coming tomorrow. Ask me what my favorite bird is, and I'll tell you. I've said it a million times.
I've announced my album significantly longer than Kendrick has, and Kendrick's album is going to come out before mine.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a little better too. Sadly,
L.
Okay.
Everyone, get me more streams than Kendrick. If you get me more streams than Kendrick, I'll
buy a Kendrick jersey. If you get more streams than Kendrick Lamar, I will move to Siberia and be a hermit for the rest of my life. And you'll
holding you to that. If you're sick to your stomach.
If there are more Theo haters, if there are more Theo haters than Kendrick Lamar fans out there, maybe it'll happen. I will never make a take. I will never show my face. I will never post on social media again if Blaiden can get more streams than Kendrick Lamar.
All time? Like,
yeah, all time. If the day you have more listeners than Kendrick Lamar. I don't want to be a Blaiden hater though. So, but
I bet.
I still think I will say this. If you get more streams than Kendrick Lamar at any point, I will more monthly listeners. I don't know how you'd measure it.
Yeah. Just like Spotify streams.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. If you can surpass Kendrick as the GOAT.
What about on one song? I have more streams like let's say
if you have one song that beats whatever Kendrick's number one song on Spotify is, I'll count that. If you can get his song bigger than Kendrick, I will retire.
This is a hell of a bet.
This is a hell of a bet.
But if you don't, you have to Venmo me $1.
Deal.
If it happens, check back in 50 years. By the time, if you have retired from music and you have not surpassed Kendrick Lamar,
retired from music, you
have to buy me. You have to buy me a.
Joke's on Theo. I'm never retiring.
A small fry from McDonald's. That's what I have. McDonald's. That's what you have on the line.
I'll buy you a 4 for $4 from Wendy's.
Okay. All right.
Or I'll buy you a Crunchwrap Supreme from Taco Bell.
If you don't surpass Kendrick as the GOAT by the end of your life, you'd owe me a 4 for $4.
or would you rather have Taco Bell? 4 for $4 Taco Bell.
I don't know. Depends on what time of day it is. I'd rather have Taco Bell most days.
Let's do Taco Bell. You're going to get a Crunchwrap Supreme from Taco Bell, except you're not, because I'm going to surpass Kendrick and you're going to move to Siberia. But that pretty much wraps things up for us. As always, tons of content coming on all platforms. Make sure you DM us, hit us on email for some questions you guys want us to answer. You can ask us literally anything, and I mean literally anything. But yeah, until next time, we're going to have a special guest for us, our Monday episode, talk about some NFL. Actually talk about some NFL. Haven't gotten to do that in a while. But until then, we will catch you all. From Corn Boy, Bird Boy, and Lemon Boy, we will catch you all on the flippity flop.